Good morning, everybody. It's about 7:17 on this, believe it or not, Saturday morning. That's right. It's Saturday morning, and first of all, you probably ask yourself, why am I doing this in the living room on a Saturday morning? Well, it's one of those rare Saturday mornings where I can actually do something like this without being interrupted, because my mom is at a conference, or going to a conference as we speak, in Oakland, California. So, and she's going to be there all day. Now, let's get on to what this video is about. And as you can see up there on the top, it says, the title is, "If it wasn't for Sega's mandates, things would be different." Let me explain. One of the constant arguments that people have, especially towards me and anybody else, is the fact that, the reason the so-called Satayam Archie comic characters are easy targets is because they don't have no mandates on them. They don't have the mandates that they can't do this, they can't do that, you can't change this, you can't change that. Which would explain why people like me, even though we state and try to prove the best, or try to prove at our very best, that we are in the middle and that we have nothing against the story itself, just against what's happened to certain elements and characters. This, to me, is one of the reasons why there's so many arguments and why people like us are easy targets. It's because Sega has these mandates. It's like, it basically the thing is, one of the arguments, as I was trying to say, one of the arguments that causes this rift, this divide, is the fact that Sega, at least for this comic book, or even its spin-off, doesn't lift the mandates. They don't lift them. And that's what ticks a lot of fans off. We are the fans of the game characters, and they want the game characters to be more focused on, or they're fans of the Satayam characters, and they want them to stay as the focus, or if they're just fans of the overall comic and all the characters themselves, like I am, like myself and others are. The thing is, it's because of this mandate that there's quite a division. And what's funny about that, like I said, it makes people like me an easy target because of the fact that we've been fans of what is known as the Satayam Archie cast, and because they don't have no mandates, it pisses us off to the point that when certain characters or elements that were part of that Satayam Archie environment, or basically that Satayam Archie cast environment, it pisses us off when that's either changed or wiped out. Like with Sally being roboticized. I've come out, and I know some of you have your opinion, and some of you feel that I'm not totally in the middle, but I am, trust me, I am, because if I wasn't, believe me, if I wasn't in the middle, folks, I would be giving a backlash of reviews of the current issues like you wouldn't believe, but I'm not. I'm not. The truth is, it's just that because of these mandates, everything that was Satayam Archie cast related, when it gets changed or wiped out, it pisses us off in some ways. And yeah, sometimes we understand. We understand that, sometimes the comic, or, and let's say, okay, let's use another example. The cartoon, if you will, if it was still going on. If it was still going on, if the cartoon series itself was still going on, we understand that sometimes the status quo needs to be shaken up. We have no problem with that. But the thing is, when somebody comes out and says, "Oh, I'm going to keep this character the way they are potentially into the 250th issue, or to the 200th episode, which just happens to be the season finale," or "I'm going to do this to this character, change them up a little bit, either make it look like they're on death's door, or potentially on death's door, and instead I'm just going to have them on the sidelines, or I'm going to turn them half cyborg. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying, folks? You know, it's because of things like that that upset us. I mean, again, we understand status quo is to be shaken up. And you know, and for people like me that stand in the middle, we have no problem with where the story could be going. We just don't like what's happening with certain elements and characters. Now again, I know some of you will watch this and say, "Oh, Brian, you're just obsessive. You and all these other fans are obsessive." No, we're not obsessive. It's just that we don't like certain things happening. Now, again, getting back to the mandates, it's because of these mandates that in the eyes of a lot of fans, and I'll even admit myself, that the SATAM cast and environment are such easy targets. But what's funny about that is that when you counter-argue that, when you kind of counteract that, what's funny about that is that when you try to tell the fans of the game characters that, hey, the reason your characters are not harmed as much, or not changed that much, or put through this, or put through that, is because of the mandates. What's funny about that is when you try to counter-argue it, the division that gets divided, they kind of divide, one of the things that divides both fan bases is the fact that that mandate gets argued as well. Now there are some fans that will say, well, that will agree with the mandates. They will say, well, the thing is, they're trying to keep the characters true to who they are in the games, and that's how it should be. Which, you know, they have a right to their opinion about. You know, if they're fans of the characters and they believe that, fine, that's cool. But again, here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. There are even fans. Here's what's funny. One of the reasons of the division between both sides is it's not just the division and dividing between SATAM Archie fanbase and game fanbase. It's the fact that you also have another part of that divide, that division, if you will, where you have both sides agreeing and disagreeing on the mandates. You know, again, like I said, you have some people on one side saying that, hey, they have to stick by the mandates and that's how it should be. Okay, cool. But then you have those that are against the mandates, and even those that are fans of the game characters themselves, like Sonic, like Amy, like Tails, like Blaze, like Rotor. Well, not Rotor, like Shadow, I should say. Excuse me. Like I said, like Sonic, like Tails, like Amy, like Blaze, like Rouge, like Knuckles, like Shadow. You know, and the list could go on. You know, even fans of those characters are sort of in agreement at times with fans of the SATAM Archie characters, because they feel that if it wasn't for Sega's mandates, then things would probably be on an equal basis and there wouldn't be that much division. Here's how I look at it. Here's how I look at it, folks. It's like this. If Sega would, as I mentioned at the beginning, would lift their mandates on the characters, at least in the comics, in the main comic and the Sonic Universe spin-off, things would be a hell of a lot different now, wouldn't it? Things would be to the point that everybody would be on equal basis. Everybody would be an equal target. You know, you have people who work on the comic come out and say, nothing's sacred anymore. Nothing's off limits. But the thing is, when you say that, and yet you have the game characters in the eyes of many not being totally affected that much, you're kind of going against what you say. If you say that nothing's off limits, nothing's sacred, guess what? You've got to stick by what you're saying, and you even got to include the game characters. And you see that is one of the divisions, or that divides this fan base in some ways. It's the fact that Sega's mandates are fucking things up in the eyes of many people. They're not allowing characters like Amy Rose, Tails, Sonic, Knuckles, Blaze, Shadow, Silver, the list can go on, to be fully developed. They're not allowing the writers of the comic to really expand on them. And it's all because of the mandates. Now again, you have one side that will agree that they have to stick by the mandates and that's the way it should be. Well, you have another side that's like, look, if you want things to be on an equal basis, if you want the bullshit between both fan bases, the Archie and the game fan bases, to stop, then all characters, not just Archie Satayam or Satayam Archie, but also the game characters have to be on equal basis. They have to be. And quite honestly, I'm in agreement with that. They have to be on equal basis if you don't want such a divide to continue. You need to put them on an equal basis. You can't just say, oh, well, I can't really do much to these characters because Sega mandates they don't change that much. You know, it kind of goes back to that little rumor or that little talk about Satayam and one of the reasons it got cancelled. In case you don't know, and I said this in one video, someone mentioned that one of the reasons Satayam got cancelled was Sega didn't like the fact that Sonic wasn't being portrayed the way they wanted him to be portrayed. They didn't like the fact that he was crying in the first season, like in the episode Ultrasonic. They weren't happy about that. Well, if that's one of the reasons it got cancelled, then you can thank Sega, right? The thing is, folks, it's like several people at many forums have said, and I'm in agreement with this. There's no pleasing the fan base no matter what you do. I mean, it's no pleasing the fan base when you do something to a certain character or not, whether you like what they've done or not. There's no pleasing them. But the one thing that really causes, in my opinion, this whole division, that causes people like me not to like what they've done to certain characters and elements, but yet have us stand in the middle and just see what happens. But then have people against them overall. Have people come out and say, hey, I wouldn't have a problem with the story if any bit of it made any fucking sense. The truth is, folks, Sega's mandates is one of the major reasons there's such a division. I mean, again, if someone working on the comics is going to come out and say, hey, nothing's off limits, nothing's sacred anymore, guess what? Stick by that. Include the game characters. That's the best way to do it, but yet they go against what they say, right? And that's what upsets both sides. One side says, you know, hey, the only way we could probably get any kind of equality here, any kind of stoppage or slow down or kind of, you know, some kind of agreement between both sides is if all characters, Archie Satayam and games were all on equal bases and all equal targets. That's the only way, but yet they don't do it. Now some I know will watch this video and argue the fact that Sega has gone in that direction before. Not Sega, but Archie Comics and the writers have gone in that direction before. Guess what? Guess what? It was only for like, what, 2 issues? One 24-page issue and one 48-page special? And that was it. Nothing else, folks. The thing is, it's all about the mandates. And that's all it's ever going to be about. And until Sega says, okay, Archie Comics, we're going to let you do whatever you want, we're going to lift the mandates just for the comics, only then will there possibly be any kind of peace, if not agreement, between both sides. But you can thank Sega's mandates, because apparently that's one of the main reasons there's such a division and dividing between both sides. Comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll talk to you all later.